Let's talk about Infinite Impermanence. Okay, so this card came out in Flames of Destruction last month, and don't get me wrong, I think it's a good card. However, I don't think it at all justifies its price tag. If you control no cards, you can activate this card from your hand. Target one face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. Then, if this card was set before activation and is on the field at resolution, for the rest of this turn, all other spell and trap card effects in this column are negated. Okay, so cool effect. But here's the thing. Alright, I get the advantages of this card. In case you don't know them, we'll go over those first. So obviously you can activate this card from your hand, and that's a huge deal for trap cards because that's kind of what the big complaint about trap cards has been, right? Trap cards are too slow to be used right now. They suck at your going second. And that is all true. If you have to go second, this card becomes valuable because you can still use it just like any other hand trap, really. It kind of functions like an effect veiler in that way. And that's cool because, you know, trap cards do have that weakness. If you go first, it's cool, you can set your stuff and disrupt your opponent. If you go second, they blow. But the thing is, this card isn't that much different than Effect Veiler. You basically target a card in your opponent's field and negate its effects. The thing is, Effect Veiler can do that too. Now, what you'll oftentimes hear people say about this card is, oh, well, you know, it's not limited to only being activated in your opponent's main phase like Effect Veiler is. And that's also very true. But the thing is, I mean, at what point otherwise would you be stopping most of your opponent's monster effects? Like, let's be honest here. If your opponent's comboing off with a bunch of crazy stuff, then you're going to use Effect Veiler to stop their cards. If they're comboing, it's probably in the main phase. If they're doing a combo, it's probably because they normal summon something like Predaplant or for Scorpio, Trickstar Candina, or using Electromite. The point is, this card really overlaps with Veiler in that way. I don't see it as a card that is like drastically better for that particular reason. Now there are some other benefits, don't get me wrong. This card can target cards like Borlo Dragon, which Effect Veiler cannot negate, and so that's kind of useful. But at that point in the game, it's probably lost its utility as an activate from your hand card. So, I mean, like, in that point, is it really any better than something like Fiendish Chain, Breakthrough Skill, Lost Wind? I don't know, I just feel like people are overhyping this card. Now, obviously, it's a new secret rare card. That is important for two reasons. It's new, so, you know, people want to play the new cards, right? That makes sense. It's new, it's exciting, people want to use this spicy, cool text. And it's a secret rare, which means it's pretty hard to pull. But $80? Seriously, like, ask yourself, is this card worth 80 times as much as Effect Veiler, Breakthrough Skill, or Lost Wind, like in terms of, you know, use in a deck? And I'm not entirely talking out of my ass here. I've tested the card. I enjoy using this. Like when I go second, it's pretty useful. But the thing is, it's not much better than any other given hand trap. I mean, Ash Blossom's still gonna be able to stop things like Scorpio and Candina and Darkworm. Ghost Ogre still hits field spells if you need to do things like that. Droll and Lockbird still does its job perfectly, just shuts out all the search cards. And most of the time, Effect Veiler would have worked perfectly fine in any situation where I found myself using this card. Not only that, something else I like about hand traps and stuff over this card is that they're monsters. They're interactive and dynamic. Effect Veiler, for example, is a tuner. So even if it's completely useless to you in a certain matchup, you can always sync with it, link with it, set it as defense as a meat shield. You can't really do that with this card. I mean, I guess you could technically bluff with it, but I mean, that's not much different than any other back row. I feel that Infinite Impermanence really loses a lot of its value after the first turn. In a format where it feels like, you know, the first turn isn't as important as it used to be, I think that's kind of worth noting. Yes, Altergeist want to go first, but other than that, I mean, a lot of decks don't actually mind going second. Decks like Spirals and even Sky Strikers in some cases. When I read this card, I get the impression that it's something that honestly will probably just end up getting reprinted like super soon. Obviously, it didn't make the cut for the Megatins, but this feels like the type of card they would include in like a structure deck if we're being honest. It's just base level effect negation in the form of a trap card. Now there is one last party trick that this card has to offer. It can stop cards in the same column as it when it got activated, and that can come in handy a little bit. For example, it's really helpful against pendulum decks. And in general, if your opponent's kind of careless about where they activate their cards, they might end up like accidentally using a terraforming after you've resolved this and then have it get negated. So that's a big deal. Gonna take this moment to remind you guys, you really need to have one of these like extra monster zone mats if you don't already. Columns matter too much in this game right now. But anyways, all I'm saying is I don't think the Infinite Impermanence is a bad card. I think it's a good card and it's a very interesting and kind of unique card. But ask yourself, is it really worth $80? I guess you guys can be the judge of that. Let me know down in the comments what you think about Infinite Impermanence. Like, have you tested the card? What have been your experiences with it? Do you think it's better than Breakthrough Skill and Effect Veiler and Lost Wind? Do you think it's 80 times better than those cards? Or would you say that like 5% better that it is still what puts it above and beyond those cards in competitive play? Anyway, that's it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Remember to check out our past live streams. We opened Dark Saviors and also the For Hires versus Vampires Duel, and the VODs for that are up on the channel. And I'm gonna be getting the deck profiles of the 2 decks we used up hopefully by tomorrow. All right, it's gonna be it. I'll see you guys in the next one.